atWork Australia would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands and pay our respect to elders past and present. This podcast is being recorded in the southwest and Western Australia, which is land of the Noongar people. We'd also like to pay our respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from wherever you may be listening from. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations with Shaun. In this episode, we chat with one of atWork Australia's incredible employer partners, Compass Group, to learn about their relationship with atWork Australia, how we've been able to support them to access a broader talent pool and provide wonderful opportunities for people who live with disability, injuries or disadvantage. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on and have a chat with me today about the wonderful partnership that's been created between atWork Australia and Compass Group. Really appreciate you taking the time.
No worries. Thanks, Shaun. Thanks for having me today.
So our audience can get to know you a bit. Do you mind telling us a bit more about yourself, your role at Compass Group and who Compass Group are? What is their business?
Yeah, definitely. I might start with, a little bit about what Compass Group is and what we do. So Compass Group are one of Australia's largest food and support services companies. We have over 13,000 team members in over 700 sites nationwide. So not only do we support offshore and remote sectors, but we also support schools, hospitals, aged care facilities, corporate offices, venues, and much more that I could go on forever about, I'm sure. Moving into what I do here, my role here at Compass is the National Partnerships Advisor for Recruitment. So as a part of this role, I manage all our relationships with our employment providers, such as atWork, as well as working with a number of other external education and charity organisations to build pathways into Compass Group.
Yeah, I think I have heard of Compass Group before, but it's probably more your involvement with service in the mining industry and their work camps up north. But I had no idea that you sort of had the size of the company and the areas that you worked in.
Yeah, for sure. We like to say here sometimes that Compass Group is probably one of the largest companies you've never heard of. And the reasoning behind that is because under that Compass Group banner, we have a range of other names that you might be more familiar with. So ESS is obviously our remote space. But just to name a few, I won't go through all of them. We have our Chartwells, which is our school sector. We have RA venues. We have Restaurants Associates. We've got Urest. We've got Omega Security, and then Medirest and Morrison's as well. So there's a range of other names you might have heard of that come under Compass Group. Like I said, largest business you've probably never heard of.
Yeah, exactly. And what led Compass Group to partner with atWork Australia, and how has atWork Australia been able to support you with your recruitment needs?
So I guess with our mutual commitment that we have between atWork and Compass Group into helping people from all backgrounds into sustainable employment, it's been key in our partnership. Having those initial conversations around, what we were expecting, what atWork were hoping for, really kind of helped us build on that. So the way that we've kind of, worked together and atWork have supported us in the past 12 months, we've created a streamlined process where roles from us can be released to atWork. atWork then pre-screens them against what our requirements are for those roles, and then they get sent through to our team to take them through the recruitment process. Once that's done, with additional support from myself and our diversity team, we're able to track, monitor and assist where necessary to ensure we can place that right person into the right role with all the required support that is necessary. And it's basically about enabling a successful and ongoing placement. We want the right person for the right role, and it's what atWork are looking for with their candidates as well.
Then you just mentioned the right person for the right role. Typically, what type of characteristics are you looking for in an employee?
I think when it comes down to it, it's all about attitude. It's the key thing for most people when coming into a role. We can train you. Working in a kitchen, there are skill sets, we obviously look for that can be helpful in being successful in a role. But if you have the right attitude and the willingness to work and put in 100% effort, then that's pretty much what we're mainly looking for.
Yeah, and I guess regardless if a person does live with a disability, some form of injury, or come from a diverse background, if they come with that attitude, then they can be trained in to be a very valuable part of the team.
Yeah, that's completely correct, definitely.
And I know diversity and inclusion is front of mind for many business leaders these days. In your opinion, what do you think some of the benefits are of creating a diverse and inclusive working team?
I'm going to go a little bit on script here when it comes to what we like to say at Compass Group. So here at Compass Group, we do like to serve a better future. That is one of our purpose pieces that we've put out to the wider community. And we do believe that everyone should be seen and nourished as a whole person. So by being inclusive and diverse, not only do we have a better engaged workforce that can feel seen and recognised, it also opens up our business to creativity, innovation, increased productivity, and it creates a greater customer satisfaction, attracting more talent due to the diversity of thoughts and skill sets that we're opened up to by being an inclusive workplace. I think when people feel safe and supported at work, they talk as well. They talk, they tell their friends, they tell others as well, which in turn creates that organic recruitment. It also lowers our costs down the line as we become a business that is sought after due to our inclusive work environment.
That's wonderful to hear that, you're able to create these opportunities and you're really getting the full benefit of hiring a diverse workplace. But I understand that I think there are some employers out there who might be a bit hesitant to employ a person who does live with a disability, injury, illness, or come from a disadvantaged background. Why do you think that might be? And have you experienced that at all?
I think somewhere like along the line, everyone that is alive and working today has probably experienced it in some form. But I'm a big believer that in this day and age, that a lot of that now comes down to what is known as unconscious bias. So it's all those things we learn growing up that we might not know that are stuck in our head about, working with someone that might have a disability, and we might not know it's there, but until it's brought to our attention, we can't address it. So I think in most cases where there is hesitancy from hiring manager, it comes from that lack of understanding.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to be aware of those unconscious biases. We should never assume on another person's ability just because we may not understand how they might be able to overcome that barrier to be able to be successful in the workplace. But I'm sure that person who lives with whatever barrier that might be, they've lived with that for many years and they develop their own skills and abilities to be able to overcome their challenges. So, I think sometimes it can be that some people's biggest barrier in the workplace might be the barriers that other people put in front of them by making assumptions on their own abilities.
Totally. I totally agree with that. And that's where I think it's really important that businesses such as ourselves open up those lines of communication with those people that might have those barriers that they have getting into the workplace, opening up that line of communication between themselves and the hiring managers and the business so that we can understand what they need, because they know best what they need. And then we need to understand that so we can help them along the way.
And so far, how many atWork Australia clients has Compass Group employed? And have you had to implement any workplace adjustments to be able to integrate these new employees into your workplace?
So I don't have an exact number for you today, but I do know that our biggest success so far with atWork has been in the WA space. We've been working closely for quite a while now with the WA team and had quite a number of successes there. We have started focusing this year a little bit more on other states with a huge focus on the New South Wales area, which we've just started to see some great placements in as well. So with workplace adjustments, I've recently just heard about an employee in our remote space who we have made some rostering adjustments for. He has identified himself as neurodivergent and was struggling in the kitchen space. And that was due to, from what I've heard, the sounds, the busyness, and it was just a bit too much. So we've managed to look at the rosters and ensure that he can be rostered elsewhere on his shifts to enable him to actually have a safe and happy environment to work in as well. Another such instance we've had is in our urban space. And this was a simple adjustment that for us, we had a walkthrough with our D&I team, our Compass Care team, and the team lead, doing a walkthrough with that team member to actually have a look and see what might need to be adjusted to enable them to be in a safe environment for their work. And all that we ended up having to do was putting a simple ramp to make it easier for them to traverse when actually carrying things instead of taking it up a step as well, which I think is it's really great to see that some of these adjustments are actually quite simple, and it's just opening it up to that conversation of what's needed from our team members to make it happen.
Yeah, and I always love hearing about the simple adjustments because, when we speak to employers, that's what the message we're trying to get across. A lot of the time it can be solved with a simple conversation or implementing a slight change to a process that gives a person an opportunity to be able to be successful in the workplace. It doesn't have to be, an expensive cost or a massive change to the workplace that's going to affect everyone else. These small changes are a lot of the time the most effective workplace adjustments.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where we really just need to get the word out there that it's opening up those lines of communication the majority of the time it's not expensive, and it gives you a happy, healthy and dedicated employee in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we briefly spoke about this earlier, but sometimes I think for people who do live with a disability or come from a diverse background, the hardest thing for them is to get an opportunity in the first place or be able to make it through the recruitment process. But how does Compass Group tailor their recruitment process to be able to give a person with a disability, injury, illness, or who lives with disadvantage a fair opportunity in the recruitment process?
I guess what we've started with at Compass Group is having these partnerships with employment providers such as yourself. So they have that person there to support them on your side as well. But again, it just comes to having that open conversation with the candidate themselves to see what their disability is, what it is that they need. And then for us, then going back and identifying the best site that will enable us to support them. So again, I think I said it before as well, ensuring that it's the right fit for the right role, but also not just the right physical fit, the right cultural fit, ensuring that they're going to be supported. So as they come through, if they're coming through an employment provider such as atWork, they have myself, also our diversity and inclusion team to support the recruitment team in that process as well. It's understanding what they need so that we can support them through that process.
And I think just in general, when you hire any employee, regardless whether they have a disability or not, you're always wanting to provide that person with the support they need, right? So tailoring it to support a person with disability just makes sense and just gives them the support that they need and deserve, really.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
I did briefly mention before that some employers may be hesitant to give people who do live with a disability, injury, or health condition an opportunity. What would your advice be to other employers when it comes to creating an inclusive workforce?
I think the biggest thing, which I might have mentioned before, is that communication piece. We need to stop with those unconscious biases that we have or those preconceived thoughts, because it's in the long run, it's not about what we think they can do. It's what they actually know they can do because they've been living with that possible disability their whole life. I think opening up those lines of communication to the candidate, asking them about what it is that they need to be successful in the role, and then facilitating that within our organisation.
And from working within the diversity and inclusion space yourself, has there been any wow moments of where you've seen people overcome a particular barrier or challenge? You go, oh, wow, I never thought that would be possible, but, this person's doing the job.
To be honest, I guess there's not been a particular moment, but every day that I work in this space, I get those feels, I guess, when you do place someone that might have struggled to get into work, and just by us being open to having that conversation with them and facilitating the conversations with the hiring managers, we've been able to place them and we've been able to see them shine afterwards. So not one particular moment, but it's a bunch of little moments in there that by consistently working in this space, you get to make an effect on someone else's life by giving them that opportunity that might not have been possible otherwise.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, and probably myself included, that sometimes we take having a job for granted and we just assume that we get up on a Monday morning and go to work. But for a lot of people, finding employment and securing employment, it can be a very challenging process. So it's great to see organisations like Compass Group doing such amazing things to create an inclusive workplace and creating opportunities for people who might not necessarily otherwise have had that opportunity. So a big thank you for coming on today, and I really appreciate you sharing some insights about Compass Group and how you've been able to work with atWork Australia.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me today, Shaun, and I look forward to working with atWork more in the future.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Stacey, learning a little bit about Compass Group and how we were able to support them with their recruitment needs. To learn more about atWork Australia and how we could support your business to access a broader talent pool, please check out the links in the show notes or refer to our website.